For me, it is the fact that I am not sexually attractive. It was not really a decision, more of a consequence. Story 1. I had a wonderful relationship for several years in my 20s and saw myself spending the rest of my life with her. She unfortunately died while we were together. I was a complete mess for about a decade after. I cannot go through that again. I know it is unlikely the same thing will happen again, but I am just closed. I enjoy sex. I like women. I can date. I can attract women. But after a month or two, feelings get involved, and I panic and leave. Love you forever, K. Story 2. Most of the women I have met want traditional benefits without emotional responsibility. They want strength, care, and consistency, but without offering peace, respect, or real partnership. Story 3. Well, mentally I have yet to decide to stay single, but my actions and behavior reflect that I have already decided that. I'm turning 30 this month, and honestly, I'm tired of having to chase someone and setting my expectations only to have them not reciprocate. I do not like dating apps. I only used them for 1 year and then deleted them. I do not like how people can date multiple people at the same time. It is just not for me. I'm not social enough to want to meet new people often. I'm content with my life. I get my social needs met by spending time with friends. I'm reserved and introverted. I can easily go a whole week without speaking. That said, I would love to have someone to share my life with, someone to talk to often, someone to care about and someone who cares about me, someone to share emotional and physical intimacy with, someone to share the mundane and ordinary. It is what it is. At some point, you need to realize that you are average and everyone is looking for something not average, and that's okay. I'm already doing my best. I'm living my life the way I live my life, not the way others live theirs. Story 4. Juice isn't worth the squeeze. I shouldn't be commenting because I'm not single, but that's a rather new development. In my experience, and sadly many women have experienced the same for men, what you put in never comes close to equaling what you get back. First, you want to find a woman you at least find minimally attractive. Not too hard if you have reasonable expectations. Then she has to want you back. Cool, all good so far. But then she demands you be this and that. It's good to have standards, she should, but seriously, you are a slightly overweight single mother who lives with her mom, and if I have any kids, it's a deal breaker. If I don't have a nice enough car or home, or roommates of my own, deal breaker. No college degree, deal breaker, even if you have a good job. Granted, I do have a home, a car, and some money, but the women around me, at least in similar positions, are dating well above me or won't settle for less than well above me. Good for them if you can. Then go ahead. But I'm sorry, what's left is the cracked-out waitress at Denny's, and just know. If you are lucky enough to find a decent-looking woman who is also interested in you, who isn't crazy, and get into a relationship, it's all take and no give, and your reward for doing your best in the relationship is occasional unenthusiastic sex when they feel like it. Nowadays, at least from my perspective, when women enter into relationships with guys in their league, they almost always act as if they're settling, even though they were excited about him just a few weeks ago. Almost every woman who doesn't have low self-esteem thinks that anything less than Prince Charming himself is a failure, and whatever guy she chooses to stop on better be eternally grateful that she gives him the time of day. Her mere presence in his life is enough for him to do all the cooking, cleaning, bill-paying, emotional and physical labor, and he'd better be spoiling her too. Story 5. It finally dawned on me that, despite achieving everything you are supposed to achieve to make yourself a man of worth, it still was not good enough to get a woman to settle for me. Whatever I bring to the table, women are not interested. After considering the situation, I realized one day that there is not a single thing I can offer a woman that she cannot find in a wealthier, better-looking, more attentive, or more giving package with just a few more swipes or a few more conversations. No matter what I do, that will never change. There will always be a bigger, better fish, and she will pick him over me. Once I accepted that reality, the decision became easy because it was more or less out of my hands. Everything I have accomplished in my 42 years, my educational attainments, income, career, living situation, social life, hobbies, skills, personal accomplishments, means nothing because it failed to achieve the goal, make myself good enough to be worth choosing. Do not get me wrong, it hurts deeply when I see my friends or other people who were good enough to find somebody enjoying their partner's company, but it only bothers me when I think about it. So I try not to think about it. I have been told, as recently as last month, that I am a 5 on a good day, and I should be grateful for any attention I can get. It is a problem I do not know how to solve, so there is no point in thinking about it. Being single will not kill me. It is in no special hurry to, so I can adapt and learn to live with it. The hardest part about this has been learning to accept my lot, because hope is the hardest emotion to kill, and I have a personal life philosophy that if I put in enough effort, for long enough on a consistent enough basis, I can improve or fix pretty much anything. Except, it seems, making myself good enough to be worth loving. I will likely have myself euthanized in 15 years or so, probably around age 60, so there is no real point in keeping my hopes up this late in the game. I might as well just run out the clock. Story 6. Introverted, socially awkward, and feeling broken as a person, I do not want to attempt to find someone. Even if I had the desire to find a partner, I believe no woman would want to be with me. You cannot get hurt if you never put yourself in harm's way. Story 7. Lack of time and energy. I am not saying I am going to stay single forever, but my day-to-day life leaves little opportunity to meet potential partners. Single is the default setting without substantial effort to meet someone. Story 8. I looked at the dating pool and how much effort I am going to have to put in for a minuscule chance of success given the dating market today. Then I realized I am perfectly content where I am at the moment. It would be nice to find someone, but in truth it is an awful lot of risk even if I found someone given today's legal landscape. So, combining those things together, why should I bother? Story 9. I just do not want to deal with another person or their needs. Then again, I am in my 30s now and spent most of my 20s married, so that might be why. Story 10. I've yet to meet a woman whom I could trust beyond measure when I was in the hospital with a muscle-wasting condition. Doctors, lawyers, business owners, accountants, high school graduates, all were the same. All genuine liars. I would rather spend my time without having to concern myself with the comings and goings of someone whose core nature is deceit. Story 11. It seems that there is a high expectation for men to sacrifice their vices and enjoyments to look like chiseled movie stars. I am never going to look like a chiseled movie star. I just do not have that drive, discipline, or ambition. Therefore, I do not date. Story 12. I am tired and I enjoy my peace. Also, I am in love with someone who is completely not interested in me, but unfortunately, I am emotionally very monogamous and have a hard time wanting to casually date other people if I am into someone else. Story 13. I am not single now, but I was for many years by choice. My first wife passed away when I was 24 due to cancer. I had a 4-year-old boy to raise, and I decided to focus on raising him. I also felt that at his young age, he had lost enough and I did not want to risk trying to date, only for him to get attached to someone and then have the relationship not work out. I did not start dating again until after he graduated from high school. I have been married for 5 years now. I was 42 on our wedding day. Story 14. Online dating has become unpleasant, and almost every woman around my age is already married or in a relationship. Story 15. I am turning 33 later this year, and my most recent relationship ended last year. My ex-partner cheated and blindsided me. I have gone through breakups before, but I genuinely believe this one really affected me. I no longer believe in true, unconditional love. My desire is completely gone, and I barely talk to anyone outside of work. Here is the surprising part. I am kind of liking it. It is sometimes lonely, but it is incredibly peaceful. I do whatever I want, spend more time with my parents, and try to improve myself day by day. Also, dating in your 30s is difficult. I do not have what younger people call charisma. I will never use a dating app, and my hobbies are not very social. My chances of meeting someone around my age who is single and interested in me are not very high. On top of that, I would not say I am conventionally attractive. I am in shape and well-groomed, but I was attacked and bitten by a dog when I was 4. I have many scars from that, including some on my face, and it bothers me. All in all, I think deep down I have just given up and come to terms with it. It is what it is. Story 16. I only had real feelings for one woman, and once she turned her back on me, I never felt like investing so much time into any woman for anything other than a casual friends with benefits relationship, simply to avoid any toxic issues or cheating. I don't feel like wasting my time on anyone because I was a punching bag in my last serious relationship. Story 17. I didn't decide anything. It's just my way of life. I never had a person emotionally close enough to me to establish a real relationship I would have wanted. My girlfriend saw me as a set of desirable characteristics, a tool for living her best life, not caring about me as a person. My parents see me as their son and like me for that, but anytime I express myself, I am rejected by them. People care about what you can do for them, and that's about it. I prefer dogs. They remember the good you did and love you for it. Story 18. No game or ability to talk to people, especially women. Trust issues. Mildly paranoid about the possibility of meeting a woman for whom I fall and who then betrays me. Story 19. I do not know what women want from me. I feel the world has shown that it has nothing to offer me in terms of romance. I feel I have tried every avenue I possibly can when it comes to dating, and I never seem to be good enough for anyone. I do not really leave my apartment anymore. If I ever do, it is for groceries and maybe an errand or two. I do not have the drive nor the desire to talk to anyone. Really. I have been single since I was 18. I turned 30 not too long ago. For the record, I make decent money. I am not overweight, I pay all my bills, and I keep myself and my place clean. So I do not know anymore. It does not seem like the world wants me around. I just keep being alive and working. Story 20. I think I'm pretty decent, 7 out of 10 on a good day. But there are two main reasons why I'm single. I'm not attracted enough to the girls who like me at the moment, and I don't date just for the sake of dating. I'm very comfortable on my own. When I'm attracted to a girl, most of the time she proves that she's not worth my energy. I either feel tested or have to deal with small doses of drama due to her past relationships or natural temper. I'm a fan of harmony, so if you're not here to keep things simple and peaceful, then goodbye. I work in the television and entertainment business, which means if I wanted drama, I'd fill a casting call for a reality show. At least I'd make money off it. Story 21. I already do all the work everywhere else. Dating people who think all they have to do is show up and exist gets tiring fast. Story 22. I really like my free time. I do not like being forced to spend my limited free time doing things I do not want to do. I am not opposed to being in a relationship, but it is nice to be able to do whatever I want whenever I want. I do not have to worry about the feelings and opinions of another person. I am alone, but I am not lonely. Story 23. Freedom. Financial freedom. Freedom of movement. Freedom of time. Freedom from emotional grief and turmoil. Freedom to enjoy other partners. I know I might be a minority on this, and I understand and respect why someone would have a significant other, but for me and my personality, it is a no-brainer. Story 24. I lost my first wife to cancer. I stayed single for 5 years. I met someone and we were married for 18 years. She told me she fell out of love and needed to leave over a year ago. It was not an ugly divorce. That was the only reason I was given. I am 62 now. I do not want to go through the whole dating process again. I do not hate her. She moved 3 hours away and I am glad. I was retired at the time. I have gone back to work by choice. I camp a lot and ride my motorcycles when I am free. I do not go anywhere. I might possibly meet someone. I have a lot of good friends I spend time with. I will not waste any more time on that. I am fine with it. I do not need anyone, and so far, I have not been lonely at all. Story 25. Over 20 years ago, someone I thought was a friend said to me, "Why would a woman date someone like you?" As I cannot answer that question, I will remain single by choice because there is no point in looking for the impossible. Story 26. I just got fed up with rejection, which is on me. I realized I don't really bring anything of value to the table. So, I am focusing on myself, making changes to my life and lifestyle, getting therapy, and then in a couple of years I will give it another try. Story 27. I keep attracting the wrong women. I meet many, but they are all crazy. I am waiting for the right one. Meanwhile, I am working on myself. Story 28. Finally found out marriage is a big fraud and having children means a very hard life. No peace, no holidays alone, no quiet mornings alone, and so on. Story 29. I just feel like I am not good enough to be someone's partner. I have been cheated on many times and have been told, I feel like I am talking to a wall. It is almost like being seen with me is embarrassing, but I gave up. I have never been loved like someone is supposed to love, so I am always here for myself because I am not letting anyone break my heart ever again. Story 30. I never found the idea of having to pursue someone I was going to have to take care of as a good deal. Where I am from, women see themselves as the prize a man should pursue and have money for. If I have to protect and provide, how are you the prize? That ideology seemed backwards to me. The one who provides a comfortable life is really the prize. Most men were influenced by this ideology, but I saw it at a young age. I would also see men married for 10 years or more complaining about no sex and generally looking like their soul had been drained. I would think, why would I sign up for that? Story 31. I have been single for the past 15 years and have had no interest in dating. The main reason is that I like silence, solitude, freedom, and total autonomy over all my choices. I can do what I want, whenever I want, go wherever I want, buy whatever I want without having to answer to anybody else. I do not need to listen to someone talk about things I am not interested in or be their emotional support. I also do not have to deal with the potential partner's friends or relatives whom I may not like or want to spend time with. I do not have to live up to certain expectations, such as achieving specific goals, exercising to burn a certain amount of calories, performing good deeds, or following trends. I dislike tradition, religion, ethnocentrism, and nationalism. I find only a very specific type of appearance attractive. Basically, the only type of woman I am willing to be with does not exist. Story 32. Being in a relationship requires a lot of effort, and I am a lazy person. I discovered this when I was married. Story 33. The dating scene in my area is very disappointing. It has been my experience that many women either stop responding or change their minds at the last moment about meeting up. I already work overnight shifts and have to use public transportation to get around for now. I dislike having my time wasted. So, I decided to let it go and whatever happens, happens. Story 34. Recently single again, and I have a few reasons now. I have spent the last 18 years being in long-term relationships, including a marriage, so it is time to be in a relationship with myself again. When I am with someone, I make them the priority, which can hurt me because if it is not reciprocated, I am stuck in a one-way relationship. That has happened before, and I do not want it to happen again. I have reached a point where I do not want to feel responsible for another person's emotions or justify what I do each day, such as when I am coming home or why I am doing certain things. Just reading about modern dating gives me a headache, so I choose not to participate. The last couple of relationships put me in bad financial positions, so no more of that. I want to be in control of my own finances. I am at a point in my life where I want to relax and enjoy my evenings and weekends doing what I want without pressure to go out or spend money just for the sake of it. I am not against spending money but against wasting it because others do not feel like being at home. I could go on, but basically, I am tired and want to live life on my terms for the foreseeable future. If someone comes into my life, they need to add to it in a meaningful way because I am very self-sufficient and do not need anything from anyone. Story 35. I am picky and waiting for the right one. I would rather be single and happy than in a relationship and miserable. Story 36. I am introverted and have hobbies I do at home, except for going to the gym. I am not attractive enough for girls to be interested in me, and since I do not approach strangers, there is little chance to meet many new people. Dating applications are the same. I am not attractive enough for them. Story 37. I've seen enough marriages and divorces to know that marriage is a social construct and a business contract. Once that contract runs out or needs are not being met, the marriage is over, leaving both people irreparably damaged financially and emotionally. I just do not want to put myself in that position. Story 38. Giving up peace and quiet is not something I am willing to do anymore. I have reached a state of calm and would rather be alone and happy than be in another relationship. I know what I am going to eat, and I know where I am going on vacation. My house is clean and organized. I do not have to compromise. I can eat whatever I want and drink when I want. I know where everything is. I can do my hobbies whenever I want. Are there drawbacks? Sure. But after 2 marriages and several relationships, the drawbacks are few and not very important. One benefit of being older is thinking clearly. I am open to the universe putting someone in my life who adds value, but I will not actively look. Story 39. Seeing and hearing so many of my friends in relationships go through terrible partners and drama really motivates me to stay single. Story 40. I was really toxic. Nobody deserves that. I had the realization that the problems were always with me and just let go of that idea. Story 41. I like my freedom and sleeping with anyone I want whenever I want. I am kind of in a relationship with myself at the moment. Story 42. I do not have what it takes to initiate, so I stay single. I am also starting to become disillusioned with dating in general. Story 43. Here are my favorite excuses that I tell myself. Too busy working all the time. Not trying to deal with anybody's drama, such as kids, ex-partners, or their difficult family during the holidays. I am not in the best shape to approach. I am not in the best headspace to approach. I am sober. I cannot approach. Holding off for the right person. Very much over dating applications and feeding into a clever financial system that benefits from male to female ratio dynamics. I am not sure I want to share my house with someone else again. All true and completely valid. Story 44. Peace and freedom while I can focus on myself and accomplish my goals. If you love yourself and make yourself your biggest priority, you don't really care about relationships. I've been there, and we broke up as peacefully as possible when I noticed that I was sacrificing my peace, my freedom, and having her as an obstacle to my personal goals. I'm not saying this is bad, but if you are in a relationship with someone you love, you'll make sacrifices and put that person ahead of certain opportunities. Also, let's be honest, a relationship can bring many good things. Peace is not one of them. Living with another person is complicated. You'll have problems, it's part of it. It's a matter of choice, and right now, I choose myself above anything or anyone else. Story 45. I am in a good place in life, just enjoying myself and doing my own thing. There is no need to complicate things by adding a second person to the situation. Story 46. Finally found peace and am working on myself physically, financially, and mentally. This is the first time in years I have been stable because of medication, and I want to keep it this way. Also, most people in my age group do not communicate well, and I do not have a high tolerance for that. I am 26 years old. Story 47. I enjoy freedom too much and do not like being told what to do, ever. A series of short relationships over the span of more than 20 years has shown me that I probably was not built for anything long-term. No big loss for me. It actually saves me a lot of heartache. Story 48. I never dated as a youth because I got turned down every time. I kept trying well into my 30s. Then, when I was in my 30s, a so-called friend set me up with a woman he knew, only to find out a few days later that I was just being used to make someone else jealous. After that, I swore off dating altogether. Story 49. No woman has shown interest in me. I have realized that I romanticized wanting to be in a relationship. Story 50. Ruined a great relationship when I was young. Never got over how perfect it was. Now I am looking for it again, and nothing measures up. I fall too hard. Story 51. I am too old, too poor, and too unattractive to bother. In the last few years, I do not want to be manipulated like the 2 times I tried. Being single is the only real way to go. Story 52. Because the reward in most relationships is marriage and children. I have no interest in those rewards. Story 53. I have dissociative identity disorder, and women and relationships are the biggest triggers. This is not related to TikTok or YouTube dissociative identity disorder content. I was clinically diagnosed at 44, completely out of left field, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I meet the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, diagnostic criteria. My experience aligns with decades of clinical and research data. It is still strange to think about dissociative identity disorder. Story 54. I never try to be single or not be single. I just do whatever I am doing, and sometimes that leads to relationships. Be nice to people, enjoy their company, do not try to push for something further than friendship, and things will figure themselves out. Story 55. I am single. I simply gave up the dating game after too many rejections. I am celibate because even if I could, I do not want to have sex outside of a relationship. Story 56. There is no real reason to pursue a relationship right now. I am far from a desirable catch at the moment, maybe in 2 years' time. Hopefully, by then I will be someone worth being desired by a wonderful woman. I prefer to have sex with people I have romantic feelings for. I do not want to catch feelings for a one-night stand and spend months lamenting that she did not want me to be her boyfriend. Therefore, no hookups unless we go into it accepting that we might catch genuine feelings for each other and are explicitly okay with that happening. Story 57. Married but would not do it again. My 2 sons vow never to share a house with a woman. A woman who marries 3 times and divorces 3 times is set for life. On your own, you do as you please and do not risk losing half of everything you have. The peace, quiet, and freedom are priceless. Story 58. I was married for 20 years. I found myself divorced at 50. It has been quite nice rediscovering myself on my own terms. I am not opposed to a new relationship, but I am afraid I have set the bar so high it might be impossible to find the right one. Story 59. Trust is a catch-22. Women are on dating sites for a reason. I see the same narcissistic traits in all of them, or they are not real, as their purpose is to generate money through spam. Then I encounter many other men who have it worse, being married or having children. I am not going to travel a road that is filled with so many minds. It just is not worth attempting. Story 60. Depression and insecurity. I'm taking medication for it. The first week, insomnia is very difficult. Therapy is helpful. I traveled too much for work to build a community. I lost my job yesterday. As much as I love Chicago, following a good friend to Philadelphia does not necessarily sound like a bad idea for my mental health. Story 61. A few years ago, I was on dating apps for 6 to 8 months, including Bumble and OkCupid. During that time, I had 2 conversations that fizzled out. The constant rejection and disinterest with no feedback severely affected my mental health, so I stopped using the apps. Without the apps, I receive no attention or interest socially. If nothing changes, I will be alone for the rest of my days, and I am okay with that. Story 62. Peace. I am so happy when I am spending time with myself. I can leave to do anything I want on a whim without having to worry about anyone else's wants or needs. Story 63. I am just not ready for a relationship right now. I am currently working through childhood trauma and unraveling the associated impact it has on my dating life. If I jump into dating right now, I will probably slip into old patterns and likely end up getting hurt again. It is not fair to myself or others to do that. Story 64. I realized that I always put in more than I ever got back in my past relationships. The effort, time, money, and emotional investments never yielded a return. Story 65. I do not feel romantic attraction to strangers. Unfortunately, I only feel that attraction once I really get to know a person. I have had some people ask me out, but I knew I was not interested and did not want to drag them along for a relationship that was not going to last. I have met many cool, fun, and good people. I just have bad luck. Story 66. I've met girls who are attractive, very much so, but I'm afraid I haven't met a woman yet who I would consider spending the rest of my life with. I thought I did, but sadly we have been broken up for 1 year. A woman's beauty is one thing, but when you're truly involved with another person, you look for other qualities, not just looks. You look to see if this person will bring out the best in you, if they will be there when times are tough, if they won't use you, if they will stay loyal, if they will put the relationship first and not themselves, if they communicate well, if they won't give up after a petty argument, and if they understand that nobody is perfect. A relationship is about growing together. You look for so much more. While I can't speak for everyone or other genders and orientations, as a straight man, I have found that many women are quite immature, will use you and then toss you away, and I am not willing to entertain any of that. Story 67. I kind of gave up trying, tired of getting my heart stomped on. I almost came close several times, but I found out they were cheating. I was even about to pick out a ring. Story 68. Similar situation, more unattractive in a well-rounded way in my case. Overweight, inexperienced, short, living with my mother, useless degree, solitary hobbies. I work 40 hours a week just to waste most of it on marijuana. I had a decent amount of savings, but I have eroded a good chunk of it just wallowing. I used to eat healthy, walk every day, and use apps, but eventually it started to feel useless. I withdrew from my hobbies, deleted all apps, gained back all the weight and then some. I have very little motivation to do anything but smoke myself into oblivion and overdose on donuts. Temporary happiness does not last, but at least it is still real. Story 69. The juice is not worth the squeeze. I have stopped actively dating, but if I find someone worthwhile, I am not opposed to it. Then again, as a millennial, I am going to retire by bullet, so it is not like I really want to get involved with someone anyway, despite the emotional need that I have convinced myself not to think about. Story 70. I am a 40-year-old man, now financially independent. I dated and had girlfriends throughout my mid-20s to 30s. I still know several women who are eager, but I am not willing to enter a long-term romantic relationship. They come with too much maintenance, drama, and expectations that I would rather not deal with. I am not interested in regularly planning date nights. I am not interested in bickering, squabbling, or pacifying someone over petty perceived slights. I am not interested in regular check-ins with anyone or good morning and good night texts. I am not interested in limiting my travel opportunities or accounting for my whereabouts. I am not interested in moving in together, hanging out with their friends whom I may not like, meeting in-laws who will invariably judge my life choices, or having children. I am not interested in giving up any of the time dedicated to my activities, hobbies, and friends. In short, I do not want the role of boyfriend, and I am not willing to make the sacrifices that the common relationship script mandates. We can be friends, have bedroom fun from time to time, and I will be playful, respectful, and considerate when we are together. I am just not willing to take on all the other things that the overwhelming majority of women want from their partners. I know a lot of great single women out there, and I hope they find their partners. There are other men better suited for the position. Story 71. I have no sexual desire. I dislike being touched. Physical intimacy repels me. I prefer to be alone. At least, those were the reasons years ago when I met a few girls who seemed interested. Now, it is not a decision, but if it were, it is still the one I would choose. Story 72. Early childhood abuse and neglect left me unable to form normal attachments to others. I suppose I did not actually decide. Story 73. I could never trust a woman. My last relationship involved a huge narcissist who had me mentally stuck. I am a wheelchair user, and she would tell me that I would never find anybody else, that I was lucky to have her, that I was a burden, that nobody would want somebody disabled, and that I was not even attractive to her. She said she was only with me out of sympathy. That affected me deeply and stayed with me for a long time. There was constant sexual abuse and rape because she manipulated me to get what she wanted, even though I did not want to. I was confident that nobody would want me because I was in a wheelchair. Eventually, I found the courage to tell her to get away from me. Suddenly, I became the villain and was called too sensitive. I have had a few relationships since then, and all of them have been really healthy. My last one was extremely healthy, but the thought still lingers that I am not good enough for a relationship. No matter how healthy the relationship has been, they always ended up using the wheelchair against me. Now, I have accepted this and tried to come to terms with it. I do not want to date anymore. I have had enough. Story 74. They are only fun for a few months, and then we eventually get bored with each other. Most people I have dated have been a drain financially, emotionally, or both. Story 75. Hard to find the right woman, but when I do, they are already married to their job. I am the side piece, still looking and having fun. Story 76. I was in a relationship for 15 years and have 2 kids. The impact that divorce had on me is hard to describe. The constant arguing and feeling of being disregarded all the time was exhausting. I was always the one who had to give way. After this, I dated someone for 2 years, but it was a struggle. Then she cheated and cut me off entirely. I have reached a point where I don't want other people to be dependent on me, nor do I want to be dependent on them. I just want to be alone. Sex would be great though, but that comes with some sort of attachment that I don't want. Story 77. There are multiple factors contributing to it. 1. The last breakup broke me and gave me trust issues. Whoever I like does not like me back. Those who like me, I do not feel compatible or a vibe match with them. I am still building my life and want to earn financial independence. I think being in a relationship might distract me. I am an introvert, socially awkward, love my bike, and do not go out to parties. Most people my age think that is boring, so it is hard to date. Story 78. It's been an unconscious decision for most of my life. I never tried to date in high school, college, or my entire 20s. I only felt like making real change in the last 6 months in my early 30s. I'd like to try dating, possibly when I lose some more weight later this year. When I was in high school, the thought never crossed my mind. I wasn't a loner, but only had a couple of friends. I wasn't social, athletic, or attractive enough, so it never occurred to me. I spent my senior prom playing Halo with friends. In college, that self-image carried over. It never crossed my mind that others might find me attractive, even when they expressed interest. I just couldn't understand it. Coupled with working, studying, and stressing over coursework, there was no way I would entertain dating. For most of my 20s after college, I was just trying to enjoy having a job that paid well, but that image of myself from high school was still there. I never engaged beyond polite conversation with women outside of work. I wouldn't mind trying now, though. For once, I don't look out of shape. I feel fit enough to enjoy my hobbies more, and I earn a reasonable salary. I don't think I have the charisma or intuition to navigate a real relationship, but I figure 1 or 2 years of trying before giving up for real probably wouldn't hurt. Story 79. Can't be bothered. From what I have experienced in situationships and short flings after the divorce, it only adds drama and stress. Maybe I attract or go after the wrong type of personality, but still, I have been married and I have children, so I feel like now is the time to enjoy life and parenthood. Why make things more complicated and stressful? Story 80. Peace, and I can treat myself better than I have found others to. What is the point of having someone else who offers little to no support when needed? Story 81. I broke up with my ex, and I do not think I am completely over her. I currently have no interest in other women, sex, or being in a relationship. If the feeling comes back, maybe I will try pursuing someone again. I do feel lonely sometimes, but not in a romantic sense. Story 82. I am currently 31 years old and, other than early childhood, there has not been a time in my life when I was not extremely overweight. As you can imagine, that affected my self-esteem, but I am working on both now. So far, I have lost 135 pounds. I had one relationship that lasted longer than a couple of months, but that was 12 years ago. I have dated since then but stopped trying during the COVID-19 pandemic. I decided to focus on my education and career while also working on losing weight. Story 83. There are only so many negative experiences I can take before deciding it is not for me. I am not particularly attractive. I work out regularly, but that does not improve my facial appearance, so I receive little interest. The interest I do receive is usually very unpleasant. Story 84. Better single than being with a toxic partner. I don't know if I choose to stay single. I am open to dating if I meet the right woman and it goes well, but I would still rather be single than be in a toxic relationship. Story 85. In my experience, women are takers, but when it comes to giving, there is little to none. Maybe I am bad at choosing them, but even if that is the case, that is even more reason not to be in a relationship. Story 86. Family obligations took up most of my attention in my late teens through my 20s. Now that I am in a place where I can have a relationship, the dating scene is a miserable nightmare that I do not want any part of. It does not help that I am shy and clumsy when it comes to flirting. Story 87. I experienced around 1,000 rejections from women between the ages of 16 and 32. I realized that I did not enjoy dating. Now I focus on my hobbies such as powerlifting and music, my successful career, and my platonic friends. If I meet someone with whom I could see a future, I might change my decision. For now, I have decided to stay single and mostly happy. Story 88. My last girlfriend had mixed personalities and struggled a lot with her own demons and past. We were together for almost 4 years. She is still a really good friend, and I talk to and see her pretty much all the time. However, because of my experiences with her, I do not want to date anyone right now. I want to enjoy life and travel. Story 89. The idea of being with someone is nice to me, but I tend to become indifferent and lose interest if I see the person every day. I need to miss them in order to appreciate them, and I believe this works both ways. I cannot imagine seeing the same person when I wake up and before I go to bed, let alone spending all day with them. If I dated someone who agreed to live in separate houses, that would be perfect, although I understand most people think the complete opposite. Story 90. In a relationship, you have to compromise. You have to, at least to some extent, adapt your life according to someone else. Being single is my comfort zone. Sure, it is not always ideal, but for me, it felt better. Story 91. I am feeling depressed and have social anxiety. I am scared of people and do not have much motivation. To my surprise, I do receive swipes on applications but never really take it anywhere. Story 92. 2 consecutive 11-year-long relationships. Thanks, but no thanks. I need a break. I do not really believe it is an important aspect of my life at this point. Figuring out what motivates me to continue, if anything, is much more important. Story 93. Honestly, I don't worry about it anymore. That's what I meant by focusing on other relationships. As for vanity, I think we all have it to more or lesser degrees. Also, just to clarify, this is my own personal experience. I was an attractive young man and had quite a lot of attention from women. I noticed that after losing my hair, that attention went away. Those women are not wrong for how they feel, and I respect their decisions. Story 94. Men and women of the human species are fundamentally different in many ways. Perhaps they were never meant to coexist permanently, but rather to visit one another occasionally, especially when distance awakens longing. There is a clear reason for this. Although not a popular opinion, a world where men and women occasionally visit each other would be better for both individuals and their offspring. Story 95. I never learned how to be a girl back in high school and got left behind since it does not get easier as one gets older. Even though I stumbled into a relationship or two over the years, I had already decided that I was more or less fine alone and gave up on the idea of dating at some point. Story 96. Consequences are certain. Too much drama, cost, and not enough time. I have a friend who is eager to join me and others to have fun apart from his wife and children when he has precious time. That is how bad it is. Story 97. I am not sure if I qualify to answer this question because I do not want to be single. I am old enough to know what I like and do not like, and as a result, I have a long list of things I want and do not want in my significant other. Unfortunately, the majority of women willing to consider me as a potential romantic partner do not meet my criteria. Story 98. It is not only extremely difficult to find a woman these days, it is impossible. Not one date since 2007. It is really weird, but I have tried everything possible. Story 99. I am still 23 as of the time of writing, so I cannot say that my reasoning is final. I am staying single purely because I have many mental health issues at the moment, and I do not want to burden anyone, especially a potential girlfriend. I do not like the idea of having someone else be the core of my being or relying on others to make me feel good about myself. I know that in some cases, a healthy relationship can be formed for mutual understanding, but at the state I am in right now, I do not think I am ready for such a relationship, at least not yet. Story 100. I simply cannot find anyone. It is not that I am super picky. There is always a deal breaker when I find someone and start dating. Multiple bankruptcies, zero motivation, complete lack of self-care, gambling addiction, or extreme political views. It is pointless. I have come to the realization that not every man is meant to be in love or to be loved by another woman. Such is life. Story 101. Being 28 years male, I find this question a little ironic. The main reason is due to girls' unrealistic expectations. But that is not entirely their fault. We are wired to seek out the most desirable partner. For that reason, I do not blame girls for wanting the best they can get. This leaves them seeking out obvious traits such as tall, rich, attractive, basically Mr. Gray himself. For the imperfect 99% of men, where does that leave us? Well, without viable third places to mingle and get to know one another, we are sitting on the sidelines because our dating profile is not picture perfect. Story 102. I haven't decided to stay single. It's women who have decided that I stay single. I've just decided to stop the insanity. I constantly hear about women wanting the whole package. So, I performed an accurate self-analysis and realized my worth. Pros: well into six figures. Great health. No debt. Solid career and retirement. Own property. On a lake. Fun. Funny. Good physical shape. Kind. Compassionate. Good listener. Cons: I talk too much. My sense of humor is too dry. Cynical. Boring. Rigid and inflexible. Smart remarks. I keep hearing about this whole package thing, and I've reached a conclusion. Why is it my responsibility to kill myself trying to give someone else what they're looking for? I haven't decided to stay single. I've decided to stop contributing any effort toward not being single if I'm supposedly what women are looking for. Until those seeking what they claim want contribute the effort toward achieving it, I've got my hobbies and my passport. Oh, and I've got my money too. I've got lots of that. Want some? Earn it. Story 103. I am not single anymore, but I stayed single from about 2009 to 2024 because I felt like I was not in a position to give someone the best version of myself. I did not want to be a burden on their happiness. I had a lot of work to do, and it took a while to get to the point I wanted to be at in life. There are many men blaming women for their own issues. Story 104. I chose to stay single throughout my 20s. I was in a short relationship at 18 for a year and learned exactly what I did not want. You know what they say, plenty of fish in the sea. So I spent my 20s exploring and just let about 150 fish go. I held out for my mermaid. I found her at 30, got married, and now we have a beautiful life and child together. Story 105. I am unattractive. I have very negative views and beliefs about relationships and women in general. I do not trust anyone and do not enjoy the company of others. Story 106. I get along great with children, teenagers, and older women over 50. However, many women between 20 and 50 seem to carry a chip on their shoulder and have a bitter attitude. It's not everyone, but most American women are like this. Who would want to be in a relationship with that? Not me, and that's all I can say. The odd thing is that women do not have to be this way because in a professional setting, they are not like this. When they get married, they stop behaving this way toward everyone except their husbands. Story 107. Right now, I am staying single because I might get another job in the next year or so and need to move. I do not like starting a relationship when I have plans that might cause the relationship to fail. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.